What's good, everyone? Welcome to the Pokeball YouTube channel. I'm Dan Spielvogel checking in, and it's been a while. It's been a few weeks since we've last made a video, but here I am, and I want to talk about the NIT Championship game. And before I go in depth, a lot of people are going to say, "What? Who cares about the NIT? The NIT is for all the scrub teams that didn't make the NCAA tournament." However, for this one, this is a must-see matchup on Thursday night. These are the two best teams in the NIT field, Seton Hall and Indiana State. Both of these teams, I feel like, should have made the NCAA tournament. Instead, the committee went full retard and put Virginia in the field, and you see how bad they look now. I would have put either one of these teams over Virginia, definitely. And I think either one of these teams would have won at least a game in March Madness tournament. That is how good both of these teams are. So we're going to start off with Seton Hall out of the Big East. They're 24-12 overall. And this is a team that is very tough. They are tough defensively. They got a lot of experience. They got good guard play. They're well coached by Shaheen Holloway. He brings that New Jersey toughness to this team. I mean, Holloway led St. Peter's to an Elite Eight as a 15 seed back in 2022. Now he's at his alma mater, coaching Seton Hall for his second year. And this is a Pirates team that's just really tough. Kadari Richmond is a fantastic point guard, senior leader on this team, averages about 15.5 points per game, 5 assists per game, does a little bit of everything, and he's a really good on-ball defender. And then this is a team that also has like Drake Davis, Alamir Dawes is a fantastic shooter from the outside. And they got a lot of size too, especially with J.D. Bediako and then Elijah Hutchins Everett off the bench. So this is a talented roster. On the road here, Seton Hall was the #1 overall seed in the NIT, and they had a struggle in their first round matchup with St. Joseph's. It took them overtime to get it done, but it was a 3-point win over a very tough St. Joseph's team that had really good guards. They beat them 75-72 in OT. And then you had North Texas in the second round, who's a very, very good defensive team, by the way. And they beat them 72-58. So a good job for Seton Hall to advance there. And then they blew out a very good UNLV team that did a very good job in the Mountain West this year. And the Mountain West was actually pretty strong this year. They had 6 teams in the tournament. UNLV could have been a 7th if they would have won the Mountain West and stole a bit. So yeah, they beat them 91-68. And then they just dominated Georgia yesterday, 84-67. They led from wire to wire. So this is a Seton Hall team that definitely has the tools to win the NIT championship. And now let's go into Indiana State. Indiana State, a 32-6 record overall, a very successful year for Josh Schertz in year number 3 here in Terre Haute. And I think that Indiana State is one of the most dynamic teams in the country, especially offensively. They will space you out. They will knock down threes. And just they have 5 different guys that can really kill you on any given night. And we're going to start off with Robbie Avila. Robbie Avila is fantastic. 17.5 points per game. Just a very efficient player. Reminds me a lot of Alperen Sengun. Man, his footwork is fantastic. He's got an outside shot, spaces the floor, and just so reliable every single night. And then you have these other guys like Jason Kent, who averages about 8 rebounds a game and another double-digit score. Isaiah Swope, Julian Larry. Yeah, those guys are really, really good. And then Ryan Conwell, of course. Ryan Conwell, a former South Florida Bull, averages about 16 a game, really can shoot the lights out. And then their road here, they had a tough first-round game against a very tough SMU team. They beat them 101-92. So they've hung 100 points a couple times here in this NIT tournament. They beat Minnesota 76-64 in the second round. So they faced another team with a lot of big guys, and they handled that pretty well. And then they beat a very tough Cincinnati team out of the Big 12, 85-81. And then they beat Utah yesterday, 100-90. So they hung 100 points against a very tough Utah team as well. So this is going to be a very, very fun matchup between Seton Hall and Indiana State. Here are the keys to this game. Seton Hall, it's the ability to defend Robbie Avila on the perimeter. And this is a tough cover because Robbie Avila's ability to space the floor is not what Seton Hall is typical of seeing in the Big East, because there really wasn't a big man in the Big East that could really space the floor and constantly hit threes, except maybe Eric Dixon of Villanova. That's probably the only guy that could really space the floor and hit threes in the Big East. So Robbie Avila is basically that. He can space the floor, knock down some threes. And then it's also about ball pressure on those guards. Because Isaiah Swope's not really a big guard, but he can really shoot the ball, and he takes a lot of deep threes. So ball pressure on him especially is very key. And then also I think that Kadari Richmond and Ryan Conwell is a very fun matchup to watch if they guard each other. So that would be a fun matchup to watch. It's all about Seton Hall's defense guarding this dynamic Indiana State offense that can really space you out, knock down threes. And then for Indiana State is just hold your own on the boards. And look, Indiana State, they did a great job against Utah. They actually won the rebounding battle against a Utah team that had a couple of 7-footers, and they held their own. And they won the rebounding. They were +8 on the boards. They held their own against Cincinnati too. Cincinnati also another big team so they're not, and SMU is a very good rebounding team as well. So they kind of held their own on the boards this tournament, and then they've been hitting threes. So that's their keys to success here in this matchup. But for me personally, I think it comes down to a couple things. Like I said, the spacing for Indiana State, and if Robbie Avila dominates from the outside and the inside, I think Seton Hall's in a world of trouble. But I feel like if Kadari Richmond and those guards can get downhill and then really just draw fouls on the Indiana State defense, because Indiana State team is not very deep. They only play like 7 guys. And if they get those starters in foul trouble, I think Indiana State could be in a lot of trouble too. So here's my game prediction. I think this game could be a higher scoring game than expected. Especially with the way Indiana State plays. They like to play fast, they shoot a lot of threes, and they're all offense. And Seton Hall's been putting up some points lately too. So I think this is going to be an absolute shootout. And right now we have the over and under of 158.5, and then you have the spread of Indiana State laying 2.5, being in Indianapolis at Hinkle Fieldhouse in Butler. So it is basically a home game for Indiana State, even though Seton Hall is very familiar with playing at Hinkle Fieldhouse due to Butler being in the Big East. And they actually have won twice here in this building this year. So that being said, my pick is Indiana State to win this game. I say it's going to be like 85-82. I think it's going to be a close game. I think the over is going to hit over 158.5. I think it's going to be a lot of points. But I think Indiana State's going to have a slight edge at the very end. They're going to probably hit a couple of big shots down the stretch to seal the win. And I think a game tying 3 is going to rim out. So I got Indiana State over Seton Hall 85-82. So that is for the NIT. The NCAA tournament predictions will be later this week. So this is Dan Spielvogel signing out, and I hope you enjoy the NIT matchup on Thursday night for the championship. So, here, take care.